Is Bitcoin on the cusp of a pre-halving retrace? We've seen a retrace like this around a halving event occur in the past 2020, 2016. No matter how different the cycle is, that is a fact in previous cycles. So we have to talk about that and also understand where in the cycle are we right now. So we'll be talking about that in a lot of detail. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. So based on the 2020 cycle here, we have a 20% pullback occurring approximately 2 weeks before the halving event, and in 2016 we have a 29% pullback up to 40% occurring approximately 28 days before the halving event. It's approximately 35 days away from the halving event, so we are a week away from entering the theoretical technical danger zone for the beginning of a pullback, and pullbacks have been 20 to 30%. If you don't really want to take into account this downside wick, and I understand if you don't want to, because that is a 2016 thing, different liquidity back in that cycle, no ETFs, and now it's better perhaps to focus on this 30% pullback, especially since we've been having a lot of ranging in this cycle, and in each of these ranges we've seen a 25% pullback here, 25% pullback here as well, 18% pullback here, and most recently last week 14% pullback. So we haven't really seen in this cycle thus far a 30% correction like we've seen around the halving event in 2016. Isn't that crazy? So if we've seen a 20% pullback around the halving event in 2020, then maybe something around 20% could occur also around this halving. We saw last week 14% dip, and in January, minus 18% pullback. So why wouldn't a pullback around the pre-halving, around the halving event, before the halving, a few weeks before the halving, why couldn't we see a 20% pullback, at the worst 25%, 30%? And bear in mind, we haven't seen a 30% pullback in this cycle. We've seen 25% pullbacks, 18% pullbacks. So is it possible? And definitely it is. We've seen many different pullbacks over the past few months. So this is the danger zone to really focus in on and hone in on, because this is also the end of the altcoin hype cycle. But let's talk about the volatility that we tend to see around this moment in the cycle. And the moment where we are in the cycle right now is breaking old all-time highs. So these green circles here really depict where we are in the cycle right now. And so if you look at each of these moments in time, starting with 2013, we get a very clean retest here, a dip into old all-time high territory, and then price expansion towards the upside. So very simple there, but just look at 2017, where we make initially, and we can zoom in here to just better understand that we upside deviate beyond old all-time highs, which is this black level right over here. We upside deviate, pull back for us a few weeks, in fact, and then revisit these old all-time highs, successfully retest them as a new support, and then price expansion. So lots of volatility around here. And if you actually focus on this upside wick from a few weeks earlier, this is where we reject from. And so we saw rejection from the old all-time high, upside deviation beyond the old all-time high, dropping below it and then reclaiming it, and then only seeing price expansion. So look at this volatility around this region. This is to shake out the weak hands, to shake out the casual investors before we rally simply towards the upside. So around this old all-time high region, lots of the upside, downside volatility simply does occur. And if we focus here also on 2021, then you can see that rejection, pull back here as well, 2 pullbacks, and in fact just hanging about these highs for a few weeks at a time before we finally price appreciate towards the upside, price expansion essentially occurring there. But you can see how this is a problematic area and a psychological inflection point for investors, that this old all-time high breaking beyond there, lots of volatility around this region. We've seen it in 2021, especially 2017, and it was a really simple story back here in 2013 where we simply retested this level and rallied towards the upside, but still experienced a dip shortly after that price expansion moment. So it is possible that we are simply having a little bit of a tough moment around these highs, old all-time highs, and that is historically accurate. No matter whether it's the ETF or the halving coming up, this is typically what tends to happen around these levels. And I know it's a different cycle, but we can't just throw out history, throw it out the window, especially since it gives us a bit more of a guide to understand why are we seeing this downside volatility around here and why aren't we simply going up. And that's because simply this is it's a problem area that we need to clear, and we will clear it with time, but we have to be patient and not be shaken out and expecting some extremely low levels going forward. So this ties in, doesn't it? It ties in with a potential problematic rise going into the halving event. Maybe we do rally a little bit extra towards the upside. Maybe we consolidate a little bit more, but definitely some upside volatility, some downside volatility. There's going to be a lot of things happening, not only because of this really important fundamental milestone in the halving event, but because we're in a technical milestone area as well, which is the old all-time high region, which simply causes and influences a lot of volatility around these levels. And for those hoping for 2013 easy just price appreciation towards the upside, we're not really seeing that already. We are seeing some difficulty already here. Last week, 14% pullback, already some dipping as well here. So let's just flow with the cycles. Let's try and understand that we mustn't be shaken out right now, because we are approximately the first week beyond old all-time high levels. And so 7 days, that's 7 days. And if we think about the amount of time it takes Bitcoin to break beyond old all-time highs and rally to the bull market peak, 280 days in 2017. 266 days in 2013, and 2021, 315 days. So now we are 7 days into that cycle right now. 7 days out of a potential 266 on the lower end and 315 on the higher end. So 7 days out of a possible 315 at the maximum, unless, of course, you take into account lengthening cycles beyond old all-time highs, which we do see occurring by 2 weeks and then by a month approximately. Do we see that lengthening occur also in this cycle? It's a possibility, but 7 days beyond here, that's already 2% of the way until the bull market peak according to historical cycles. So that is no small amount, 2%, because 7 days beyond this old all-time high region, that's already 2% of the way to the bull market peak if we're just taking into account the amount of days that it takes Bitcoin to rally beyond all-time highs, old all-time highs, to a bull market peak. So the journey has begun to the bull market peak, whether we like it or not, and it's never smooth around this region of breaking that area. It's never smooth around here, but it does get smoother as we progress, and it only gets smooth for a few weeks before we see some corrective periods. 2017, multiple corrections here, multiple dips here as well, and 2013 probably not going to happen in the future, but look at this sort of correction here. And let's not even talk about 2021, where we did see a pullback here. Here was a pullback, 56% retracement around mid-summer of 2021. So corrections are going to happen. It's going to be difficult around this region right now. Already is a bit difficult, but we are going to price expand for a few weeks before experiencing the major correction, the first one in what is typically what tends to happen. If you think this cycle is so different that we're never going to pull back ever again, you feel free to go about your investing in that way. However, I feel like pullbacks in price discovery mode are definitely 100% fantastic opportunities to dollar cost average into. And even this region here, this is a historical problem area. However, once we clear the dips here and maybe even pass beyond the halving, we'll be ready to continue that rally to new all-time highs and beyond. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.